Good morning, gifted crafters. It's crafting time.
Worries on my mind, it's been a tough week. My life feels a void. There's something that I need. My supplies on the table, I grab a comfy seat. I need to craft to put my mind at ease. Crafting changed my life, it mends my soul. In my happy space, I'm in full control. It's crafting time, craft my troubles away. Give me a world of color to brighten up my day. Crafting videos on, searching what I can do. Sipping on my drink, feeling inspired and new.
Live from the Sunshine State in Miami, Florida, here is the Gifted Crafters Morning Show with Nancy.
Good time. Ooh, time to get our craft on. Ooh, time to have fun. Ooh, time to feel good.
Good morning, Gifted Crafters, and welcome back to the Gifted Crafters Morning Show. Good morning out there. We've got people that tune in from all over the world, and so we like to kind of recognize them and say good morning to them. So let's see who we have out there this morning. Let's see, we've got Jenny Owen. Good morning. We've got Faker Make Fake. Good morning to you. We've got Cindy Ball. Good morning, crafters. Good morning. We've got Melissa from East Texas. We've got Boricua Sewing and Crafts. She's saying good morning, and she's from Virginia. She's my sister. And let's see, we've got Jex Savvy designed by Sean. Good morning. Yeah. TGIF, yay! Absolutely awesome. Good morning to Linda. Good morning, Robin's Quilt Basket from Maryland. Let's see, we've got, from North Dallas. Good morning. Oh, and we've got Alice, who's the first time here. Well, welcome, and thank you for joining. We've got our little welcoming committee here, so they will welcome you in and say hello. I hope you really enjoyed today's show, and we get to see you over and over again. Good morning, Lisa Lilly from Richmond, Illinois. Let's see, we've got, our friends from Canada are here. Good morning to you guys. And we've got Flo. Oh boy, North Carolina, 44 degrees. Brr. Gosh, I hope I can bring a little bit of warmth to your morning here. Alrighty, and good morning to Connie and Joyce and Kathy. Good morning, Marge, Lori. Good morning, Renee. Good morning to all of you, Deborah. And I don't know if I missed anyone out there. The chat is kind of moving a little fast, so I don't know if I missed anyone. If I did, sorry, but good morning to you all. And thank you all for all your support and supporting this channel. So if you are here for the first time, like Alice, my name is Nancy with GiftsHQ, and we host these daily sessions to just talk about anything crafting, from knitting, crocheting, decoupage, sewing, quilting, and so much more. We just love all kinds of crafts, and we love to just kind of do all kinds of fun things together, like demos or little projects, or, you know, just a lot of little chit chat while you are in your craft room. My goal is just to inspire you to get in there and try something a little bit different and get some of those projects done, because Christmas is right around the corner, guys, and you can't delay any longer. We are already halfway done with October, and I felt like that just went in a blink of an eye. We are going to be right on top of Halloween soon, and then it's just all downhill after that. Thanksgiving, Christmas, and it will come really fast. So get those projects done. If you haven't started, you better get with it. Just put me in the background, play some crafting music if you like. You've got 2 CDs to pick from, right? All kinds of crafting tunes that you can go ahead and get if you'd like. So I hope you guys really enjoy those. And good morning, Nancy from Boston. I just love your name. Awesome. Okay, so we've got tons of things to do, but first things first, we like to start our channel every morning with a little toast. So go ahead and grab yourself a cup of whatever it is that you have in the morning, coffee, tea, soda, water, it doesn't matter. There's no judgment here. Go ahead and raise your glass, and if you don't have something, don't worry, I'm going to pour one for you. Here's a little cup for you. They'll keep you nice and warm. Got a little cup of coffee for you, and go ahead and take yourself a sip. We're going to raise our glasses because we're all going to have a fantastic Friday, because it's Friday and we're going to have a great time today. So I hope you guys have a great, super awesome weekend as well. Okay, raise those glasses and take that little swivel here. Yes, coffee. Yummy. Yes, Faker McFake says yummy, yummy coffee. Yes, cheers. Yay. Awesome. Cheers to you guys as well. Yes, cheers to all the crafters. Wonderful. Okay, so we've got our little swivel in, and we've got to go get some snacks. So it's Friday. We got that food truck rolling around. So don't worry. You can have anything that you want off the food truck. We've got all kinds of snacks, and they're all free. And you know what? You're not even going to gain a pound. So let's roll that out, because we got to go grab our snacks and go ahead and get all your stuff. I think we're all out of the birthday cake. We ran out of birthday cake yesterday, so I don't think we're going to have any more of that. But we have other kinds of snacks like little cupcakes and muffins. So go ahead and grab some of those as well. Of course, we've got the carrots and kale for the healthy people. And here are our little buddies here with all the extra little goodies just for you. Alrighty, yes, grab your little snacks, get yourself in a little cozy spot. And if you're not in a cozy spot, just make sure you're in some kind of a safe spot at least so you could watch. Good morning, Heather. Awesome. Alrighty. So one of the things that we are doing today is we're catching up on some projects and finishing up some of the others. I talked about the Sewing and Quilting Expo that I attended in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And one of the classes that I took was the t-shirt quilting class. So we went through that yesterday, and I finished up that quilt. I gave it to my son, so he is using it. He loves it. If you didn't get a chance to see it, just tune back to yesterday's video. You can see the whole thing. I added some Minky in the back, so he is already using it and loves it to death. So now that he got the blanket that I made in class, which were on the random shirts on the little characters that he likes, now I'm actually making the blanket that has all of the t-shirts from all of his competitions and whatnot. So this one's kind of more of a meaningful memorial type of thing that has all of the events that he's been active in so far in his life. So we're going to go ahead and we'll finish that up today. And I'm using my serger. I'm using the Brother 1034 DX is what I'm going to be serging that on. And we're just going to be serging the sashing to it. Super simple. And I'll give you just a couple tips on that. But before we do that, I also wanted to share, I know that I had talked about on the expo about that tea, and a couple of you guys were asking about, this is the tea that I actually purchased. It's called True Honey Teas, and this is apple cinnamon. And this is the one that I got. My mom, like I mentioned, was she got one with ginger and lemon, I believe it was. But I got this one. Really, really great tea. Really nice to have in the house, especially when it's cold out there. So you can get it online. They do have a website. Where did I see that here? I think it was truehoneyteas.com, and you can see that up on the top. Can we put that back again? Here we go. truehoneyteas.com. So you can order it online. But I did get it from the expo, and I thought it was really good, and I promised to show it to you guys, and I just remembered that this morning. So there goes that, right? Wanted to kind of get that out to you guys. Okay, so before we get into our project and start surging away, I have a couple of items that I need to kind of let you know about. First off, we've got on Saturday, my sister, Jeanette from Boricua Sewing Crafts, is going to be teaching at Susie's Quilt Shop in Virginia. So if you're in that area, and I know a few of you are in that area, and I think you've attended, she's going to be there this Saturday. So go ahead and, either contact the shop or, just find out the hours. I don't know the hours. She didn't tell me the hours, but I know it's this Saturday. So if you want to catch her, she's going to be doing stuff on applique. So you can also catch her for that. Then we also have Cindy Ball's Guild, and I believe Cindy is in the chat. I think I saw you in there earlier. She's got her guild that is doing the Gladwin Showcase of Quilts. It's happening tomorrow, October 18th and 19th. And it's going to be Saturday from 10 to 5, Sunday 12 to 4. And it's in Gladwin, Michigan. It's going to be a quilt raffle. There's going to be vendors, and it's only $5 to get in. So go ahead and check that out if you're in the area in Michigan, because her little guild is going to have all kinds of showcases of quilts, and I'm sure they're just going to be beautiful. And I hope Cindy's going to take some pictures and let us know on the Facebook group. Show us those pictures, so that would really love to see them. Okay, and then I have one last story. In Kennewick, Washington, a creative mom named Jessica Beck. She turned what started as sewing lessons in her dining room table during the pandemic into a full-blown business. It's called Jessica's Sewing School. She started it off with a small idea to teach her daughter and a few homeschooled kids now that blossomed into a cozy studio where young makers learn to stitch, create, and dream big. And Jessica's school welcomes kids the ages 8 through high school. She teaches everything from sewing basics to quilting, garment making, and even a 4-level program called Society. Where at the end, her students will be able to sew circles around most of their grown-ups there. Now, the studio has a really fun retro vibe, and it's complete with a vintage sewing decor, a floral couch, and a few antique machines that remind everyone where the craft all began. And what's really, truly special of that is that she's not just teaching them how to sew, she's teaching them confidence, patience, and creativity, which is really amazing. So if you're interested, check out her website. It's jessicassewingschool.com. And I think that's pretty cool that kids, are able to do that. I know I wish I could have done that, when I was younger, right? Okay, Boricua Sewing classes start at 10:30 a.m. So there you have it at Susie's Quilt Shop. 10:30 a.m. is where she will be at. So awesome. Okay. Yeah, thanks for the shout out on my Guild's Quilt Show. Each day, your entrance fee of $5 gets you a chance to win a very special quilt. Ooh, awesome. Awesome. Well, have lots of fun, Cindy. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. Take pictures because we'd really love to see it. You've got over 150 quilts plus other sewn items. That's amazing. Amazing. Gosh, if you're in that area, check it out. I'm sure it's just going to be really fantastic and you'll have a great time. Okay, so those are all the announcements that I have. So now let's kind of get over to our little t-shirt quilt. So I started off yesterday just cutting a couple of scraps. Like I told you, I went over, and let me just grab this over here. I went over to Hobby Lobby, which is the closest thing that I have, and I just needed to grab the Minky to complete the quilt from yesterday, and then I needed to grab some fabric in order to do the sashing. And so I got some polyester, and I picked polyester because, you know, it should work really well with my quilt blocks, and I think it's going to, I wanted it to be black to kind of blend in because it's, you know, he's a boy. So I'm like, let's do the black. Other than that, I would have had so many choices with the girly colors that are out there. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so for my daughters, I'm going to have some fun with that one. But I started off with my sons because I've got all his shirts and everything in order. And so we went ahead and we cut some shirts yesterday. Remember, we were using our 12.5-inch squared ruler. And so I did have some really tiny pieces that I was able to pull out, like this little one right here that pretty much had the competition's name, the place, and the date, and the little logos for it. And this was Special Olympics North Carolina. This was multi-state aquatics competition. And then on the sleeve, he had done an open water swimming competition, and on the sleeve it had swim series on here. So I just cut it out. Not sure if I'm going to use it, but you know, all those little bits and pieces that have little things on them that you may want to use, go ahead and cut them out. You can add them to the sashing if you want, you know, to just give it a little bit of extra interest on there, or you can leave it out. We're going to see how we do this here. And then I've cut up a few. There's a few that I don't know if I'm going to use because I wasn't kind of really loving it. Let me see if I can get the end here. There we go. But I kind of put them in the order, and I laid them out so far as to how I want them to look like. So let me turn them around so you see them correctly. So this was a 2014 multi-state swim meet competition. I believe this is the one that I cut with you while we were live. This one I thought was pretty cool. It says, "Don't diss my ability," right? And I wanted that saying to just be there on the quilt. And then a couple of others, competition and teams that he was a part of. So I went ahead and cut some of those. And one thing I want you to notice is the colors. And so when you finish cutting them out, I laid them out on the floor. It was just easier for me to see it on the floor. And then take a step back. And you're going to see that you're probably going to rearrange it a few times. But you want to make sure that you don't have colors of the same, you know, the same colors basically right next to each other. You want to add some visual interest so that when you look at the quilt, your eyes, you know, kind of see how your eyes go. If you've got too much of the same color in one place, it may be okay. Let's say if you're doing them all gray. And you have different designs, but if you have different colors and then just like 2 or 3 all the same bunched up together, you'll want to change that up because you want the visual interest to be a little bit better and kind of lay that out. So spread it around on the floor, do your layout, and then kind of take a step back and then kind of, you know, look away, walk away, and then come back and look at it again just to make sure that you have it the way you want, because sometimes, you know, you need to look at it twice just to make sure that it's, you know, kind of set the way you want it to be. So just go ahead and do that, and that way, you know, you'll just be happier with the outcome after. So once I've done that, I kind of put them in the order that I wanted to serge them together. And so I have my first set right here. And so for the very first one that you do, I'm going to put these over to the side here. I'm going to grab my first one, And I'm going to go ahead and take my sashing. And remember, I did cut it at 3.5 inches. Yeah, Becky says, take a picture of it, then look at it. You'll see what you need to change. Exactly. A lot of people do that. They'll go ahead and take a picture of it and then look at the picture on your phone. And sometimes, you know, that'll prompt you to want to switch things up. Other things you want to consider, like I showed you, this one right here doesn't have a picture, but it has a saying on it, right? Some kind of a statement. You want to be able to kind of highlight your statement. So I purposely made this one in the middle, right? Because I want all the other t-shirts pretty much have pictures on them. So I want any statements to kind of be either in the middle. You could do the center, on the top center, the middle center, you know, or on the bottom row center. And that will draw your eyes right to the statement and then draw it out to the pictures. So if you want that statement to really kind of stand out, I would suggest you put it right on the center. Unless you have a whole bunch of shirts that have different sayings all over, then your eyes are going to kind of be everywhere. But if you have just the statement like this one, you know, I'd put it right smack in the middle, whether it be in that top row, middle row, bottom row, you know, it doesn't really matter which row it's in, just make it in the center so your eyes will focus right on it, read it, and then it will look at the pictures right after that. So it's kind of like how, you know, you visually will see something and what stands out to you right away. So kind of, you know, think about all of those things when you're rearranging it. I know you'll rearrange it at least a couple of times. And I know when we were in the class, I must have rearranged it about 5 times before I actually serged it. Because, you know, you're looking at the colors, you're looking at the pictures, you're looking at any sayings that you have. You know, and just in general what you like, right? So you'll make all those decisions and turn things, you know, around, but, you know, just make sure it's something that you're going to like, because it's, you know, it's a quilt you're making or you're making for someone. So just keep that person in mind when you're making that quilt. You know, what does that person like? So go ahead and think about that. Okay. So I went ahead, I didn't cut all of the sashing, I cut just a few to get myself started. So I still have quite a ways to cut some more. And I just had a couple little scraps here, not too much, very, very little that I had in terms of extra, and that's totally fine. And this is something that I could use later. So I'm just gonna set that to the side. And then I'm gonna go ahead and move this over here. And we're just going to start serging. So like I said, the very first one that you're doing, we're going to put the sashing on both sides of that square. Okay, because we're starting it off. So we start off with the sashing, then it's going to be the shirt, then it's going to be the sashing, and then we're going to add on another shirt. Now our layout is going to be 3 t-shirts or 3 columns. And then you're going to have 4 rows, okay? So if you wanted to make this wider, then you could do 4 columns instead of 3, right? But I'm only doing 3. I don't want this to be too big, right? So I'm doing 3 columns, and by adding the sashing, that's pretty wide enough for me. And then we're going to do 4 rows of shirts and sashing together. So we're going to add sashing to the sides, but we're also going to add sashing to the top and the bottom. So I am first doing the sides, and then I will add a long piece of sashing on the top. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and line this up. You can use pins if you like, but I'm just going to kind of wing this like this. And then we're going to come over to the serger and we're going to serge these together. So now if you're using for your sashing some kind of a sashing that has a design or something on it, you'll want to make sure you're doing it right size together. Okay, so you're going to be serging it here along this end, and it's going to be right size. So when you're done serging it, you're going to open it up and you'll be able to see whatever design you can. Another little thing that you can do, you can take these felt strips and throw them on your embroidery machine. You can embroider names on here. You can embroider anything that you want, little designs, anything that you think will be really nice on the quilt. You can do them. You can do them now before you actually serge them on, or you can embroider them afterwards, right? Because this back of the quilt, we're going to have it covered with the backing, and we haven't done that part yet. So you could do it before or after and add a little embroidery to it, you know, a little fun little design coming all the way down, you know, a name, a date, something that's special to you or to that person that you're gifting this to, a nice little saying, you know, a motto, whatever it is, you know. That will be really meaningful. Or you can also do it on the top here, going all the way across. So you have the other sashing that you're going to put on top. You could do it that way as well. So I like to kind of throw out all kinds of ideas, and I like my quotes at the end. So there's tons of things that you can do with that. So just wanted to throw that out there. If you're thinking about doing that, because that's really a lot of fun, and it'll make it really meaningful if you can kind of customize it and, you know, put little sayings and stuff. So this is a nice little money maker if you have a shop, or if you're interested in, you know, doing t-shirt quilts. You know, if they provide you with the t-shirts and you have a serger, you can throw this together in no time. And then you can also add customization if you have an embroidery machine, and let them know that you can customize it, and you can charge a little bit more for that. So good way to make some extra money, right? I mean, who doesn't like to kind of upcycle their stuff, right? Why not? They like to keep their memories and upcycle everything. Okay, so I'm going to bring over my serger over here, and we added a little bit of a embroider cam. I mean, not embroider, serger cam on a little stand. So I'm going to try to see how this works. And so let me see if I can put this here. I'm going to try to kind of bring this together here. And let's see if I can angle this correctly. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. All right, so let's bring that over and see if you guys can see this now. There we go. Okay, so you see all the little dust here. You can see I was serging away the little quilt. When was it? Yesterday or day before, when I was finishing it up. So I do have that, but I'm just going to continue going because we still have another one to finish. So I'm lining up my sashing here along to the side of the t-shirt, and I'm going to be lining it up here and put it right underneath the foot. Now I have the knife in place, and it is going to cut, but you do not want to line it up like all the way out here. We are not cutting a ton off. We're just cutting a little bit of a slither of the side here. Okay, we're just making sure that it's going to serge. So you can have that little piece like this. That's all we need to serge. We don't have to serge a whole bunch. Okay, so Marina's asking, do you add batting or flannel to the middle and later quilt the front to the back? No, you can add batting. Now, I'm in South Florida, so it gets pretty hot down here. So I don't want to make my t-shirt quilt really, really heavy. The minky itself is going to give it the weight that it needs. So I am just going to add the minky in the back. But if you want to add the minky and the batting, if you're up north and it's a little bit colder there, then you can go ahead and add the batting. But you have to think about anchoring the batting, right? Because if you think about the quilt itself, if you add the batting in the middle, right, you would have to anchor it down, because that batting, once you wash it, and this is something you'll be washing all the time, right? When you put it in the wash, that batting, if it doesn't have anything anchoring it, it's going to flop inside, and you're going to end up with a t-shirt quilt that has batting all bunched up in the bottom when you take it out of the wash. So if you are going to add the batting, then you would be doing this as 3 layers, right? You would have your shirt, you'd have the sashing, and you'd have the batting as well on top, right? Because then when you flip it over, you would want to see just the sashing, and the batting would be on the back end. So if you are going to add the batting, then yeah, I would do that and serge it all together so it's anchored in place. Or what you can do is, after you've already sewed your rows and you have your quilt together, then you can add the backing. But I would suggest that you have to sew it somewhere, probably within the sashing, maybe do like a stitch in the ditch to anchor the batting in. Otherwise, it's going to be flopping all over the place once you put it to wash, or even when you just pick it up. The batting, if there's nothing holding it, it's just going to drop. And so you want to be careful with that. So make sure you're anchoring that in place. But we're in South Florida, and there's no way, you know, with batting, he's ever going to use it because it's just way too hot here. Yeah. What keeps your t-shirts from stretching as it's getting quilted? Well, this is not going to be quilted. I am not going to be quilting this one. I am just adding my sashing, running it through the serger, maybe adding some embroidery to it, and then adding the minky as the backing. I'm not going to be quilting it. If you wanted to quilt it, then I would suggest to add the stabilizer to it, because the quilting is going to kind of reduce the size and shrink it down. So since I'm not going to be quilting, this is just the quick and easy way to do a t-shirt quilt without quilting it, without using your sewing machine. You're just using your serger, and you're done in a couple of hours. So this is just the instructions that we were given in the class. So this is just one of many techniques that are out there, guys, to do t-shirt quilts. This is just a quick and dirty way of doing it and getting it done. No stabilizer, no sewing, no quilting. This is just quick, and you're done in a couple of hours, right? So this is just one of many ways to do it. So this is, and you guys already saw what it looks like in the end, and it works great. But if you're wanting to do interfacing and quilting, then I would suggest to go ahead and put the batting, put the interface, but don't follow this particular method, because this is not intended for that. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of that. So now when we are serging this, I have my ends underneath my, in my serger right here, but I also have the other end that I am holding, and I'm holding it with my thumb on the bottom, and I'm going to hold that just like this as it serges. And I want to make sure that my sashing is not going to be pulled and taken out of place, but I want to make sure that this stays completely aligned in the bottom. Okay. I don't want it stretching or moving. So I'm just holding this with my hand on one end, and I'll be serging on the other end. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me grab my little foot here. It's kind of moved around on me. There we go. Okay. So we're just going to cut just a slither there. And let's turn this puppy on and get this going. Okay. You can see okay, now you can see I did not cut a whole bunch off. Okay, that's exactly what you want. It's just a tiny slither. This is all you're going to be cutting off. Okay, and then once you do that, you'll have your nice serge seam here. I know it's kind of hard to see. Let me flip it over to the back side so you can see it on the gray. So you can see you've got your nice seam here all the way across. And so now when we flip this over, you're going to have that nice look in the front, okay? And so now we've got one piece of our sashing, and we need to attach the second. And so I'll grab another piece of sashing from the other side, and I'm just going to lay it flat and just line that up as well. Now, one thing you'll want to make a note of, let me see if you can see it better this way. I know I've got, my table's a little crowded with the sergers. So let's take a look at this end here, okay? One thing you want to be careful is when you're lining your sashing up with your shirts, make sure that you are completely flush end to end on the sashing with your t-shirt. Okay, you want to make sure you are not like something like this. Okay, and this is being exaggerated, right? Your end to end should be matching up with the shirt. What's going to happen if, let's say you are just slightly, let's say you're something like this, okay? You're not lined up completely with the shirt. When you go to open this, this is going to be kind of indented this way. You're not going to have a full, flat, flushed line going across. And so then when you add your sashing, you're going to have to eat up more of your fabric to correct that. Okay, so if you are nice and straight the way we are here, then when you go through your knife on your serger, you're only going to be taking off just a slither of that here. Okay, let's say we're going to take this much off of it. But if you're slanted on the top, you're going to have to align yourself to wherever that slant is, the lowest part of your sashing, and you'll have to take this much off instead. And that can be a little bit dangerous because it all depends on your design. So you can see here, I have all these letters going across, right? So these letters going across, if I start to move my sashing and serging it down here, okay, let me just grab a little ruler so I can show you this a little better. Let's grab this one here. So here's my letters on the top. I'm going to just place my ruler up here. And you can see I've got about a good inch on top of where these letters start. And so I don't want to eat up the entire inch because I want my letters to stand out. And you don't want your letters to be inside the seam, right? So you have this inch to play with. But if your sashing starts coming low, like this, let's say, let's try to pull it a little bit more. Let's say it's like this. You see, you're going to have to, in order to line it up to be flush, you're going to have to line yourself up with this seam, the lowest point of that fabric, right? And then you're going to have to serge and cut all of this off. Well, then now you're cutting way close to the actual letters. And so your sashing, once you are done, may look something like this, where your letters start to get cut off. So you want to be very careful that when you're doing your sashing, that you are nice and lined up and flush going across, because you don't want to eat up too much of that fabric and start cutting into your square. And now your square is not going to look as nice because it's not going to be displaying whatever picture or words or whatever it is that you have on here. You don't want to eat into that design. You want to make sure it's nice and flush. So be very careful of that. And that's why I hold the sashing the way I do. I will grab, where is that piece of sashing? Here it is. So I will grab this piece here, and we're going to go ahead and do our second part. And I will go ahead Let me move this over. I'm going to line it up here. Make sure that I am nice and flush, edge to edge on my sashing, lined up with my shirt. This is what I'm going to be serging. And then on, on this end here, I'm going to hold it with my thumb underneath and my fingers on top. And I am really kind of going to the edge of this sashing right here and holding that, just pinching it with my fingers to make sure that that doesn't move on me. You can pin it if you like as well. You can put a little pin here just so to make sure that it does not move. But you want to make sure that you're going to stay nice and flush against the fabric. And then we're going to be adding the sashing to the top as well as to the bottom as well. So, you know, that's why when you were positioning your t-shirt quilt, you're looking at all four sides of your design before you actually make that cut on that 12.5-inch square ruler. You want to make sure you have space on the sides, and you want to make sure you have space on the top and the bottom, because that serging this, you're going to lose about at least 1/4 of an inch, right? And so you definitely want to check that out. And so then when you open it up, you're definitely going to have that nice look that you want it, and you want it to be nice and centered if you can. Okay. All right, so let's grab this now. I'm going to again line this up, make sure it's good, and we'll go ahead and put that on our serger. Now you can just lift it here. You have the handle. You can do whatever works for you. And we're just going to cut a little bit of that off. Make sure on your sides, make sure that your t-shirt isn't hiding and you're just cutting away at the sashing. You want to make sure that both things are aligned. So you're lining up on the top, but you're also looking underneath here to make sure you've got your t-shirt lined up as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And then have this nice and straight. Go to the bottom, thumbs and fingers, thumb underneath, fingers on top, holding on to that point, and then go ahead and serge. This thing is pretty loud. I'm not sure if you guys hear it, but hopefully it's not too bad. No, not too bad? Okay, good. Okay. There we go. Okay. Now, some people will run the serger and cut their tails that way. I like to just kind of trim them off close to the garment so that I have that off. So now you're going to see, once we have this laid out down here, you're going to open it up and we're going to be good to go. Just trim off your tails and just put that in the gathering cup there. And so you have your first one that is all serged away and ready to go. So this is the very first square that you're doing, making sure that you have your sashing on the left and on the right. So now you're just going to continue to add another piece, and you're just going to, you've already got your sashing on this side, so now we're just going to add the shirt to it, and we're just going to go ahead and do 2 more of those. So let me just grab another shirt here. Now this one is the one with the saying. I've decided to put this in the top row, but in the center. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this right sides together. All right, so I'm laying my t-shirt down, and then I'm going to line it up with the sashing that we just serged. And then go ahead and line that up with your hands. Put the little pins. If you wanted to pin it, you can. And then go ahead, bring it to your serger, and put it right underneath there. And then I just kind of hold that in place while I gather the bottom and make sure that this is lined up well. Okay. All right. Here we go. And I think we are good. Now, another thing you don't want to do, you do not want to stretch this as you are serging, right? This is a very stretchy material, right? T-shirts have a lot of give to it. So you want to make sure that you are just serging this and that the fabric is nice and relaxed. You're not pulling and tugging on any of this. It's just laying nice and flat and relaxed, and then just go ahead and serge it. Don't pull on it, because if you do, you're going to end up warping it and stretching it. And so it won't lay nice and relaxed when you're done. So go ahead and just make sure it's nice and relaxed, and then just serge it. Okay, and you can go as fast or as slow as you like. Okay, I'll go ahead and cut that off. And we've got a really nice serge right there. Gorgeous. Love how it's coming out. Okay, and then you're just going to lay that back. And here we go. We've got our nice piece right in the middle. And so now you'll just continue going. We've got one more to complete our row. So we do need to add another piece of sashing, because this is that middle column. So we're going to add that next piece of sashing on here. Just lay that right on top. Edges together here, right sides together if you have sashing that have designs or things on it. And then you're just going to go ahead. I'm going to bring it back to the serger. Make sure it's lined up here. Use pins if you need to. It's totally fine. And then go ahead and put it underneath the foot here. Okay, and then I'm going to go, and while I'm holding this, I'm kind of jiggling it down till I get to the bottom of the fabric, and again, holding it with my thumb on the bottom, fingers on top. I'm grabbing it like this and making sure my edges are all lined up. And so I will hold that going across here, and then go ahead and serge that one. Okay, now we can keep going. Here we are. Okay, cut that tail off. And so you can see we've got a little catch tray here. There's not that much that it is trimming off. So you don't want a whole glob of fabric sitting in there, because you don't want to cut all that much, right? Otherwise, you're kind of shrinking down your quilt and it's going to be a lot smaller. So go ahead and don't forget to cut your tails. Here's one here that I forgot to cut. Okay, and then just I throw my tails in the little tray there, and we now have our second one complete, which is our middle row. And now we're going to do our third column. Okay, and we're going to add that third one. And so for the third one, we are going to serge it to the existing sashing that's already there, and then you're going to add one more piece of sashing in the end, and that will finish up the row. Let's see. So you think you could do this same method using your sewing machine and pinking scissors? Oh yes. And on the seam allowance or an overcast stitch, is this technique only good with a serger? No, you can certainly do this with a regular sewing machine as well. I would probably use something like a zigzag stitch, just something to really reinforce it. Other than that, the other thing you can do is you can change your stitch length and make sure that you're using a construction stitch. So change it to maybe 2 to 2.5 stitch length. That way it's a nice and secure stitch that has really grabbing it. That's what we call like a construction stitch, because it will really bind the two together. You don't want to use a really loose stitch, like maybe 3.0 or 3.5 would probably be, in my opinion, just a little bit too loose. You want to have this nice and secure. You want to make sure that your stitch, you know, that is securing the sashing and the t-shirts together, you want that to be a really good construction stitch, because there'll be a lot of tugging going on. It's a blanket. They're going to be moving it around, and you don't want to have any holes on here. So if you are doing it with your sewing machine, make sure you're using a construction stitch. That way it's nice and tight, and it will secure this in place. Now, you could do that and just use about a 1/4 inch seam allowance going all the way across. That will be totally fine. If you wanted to do a larger seam allowance, like maybe a 1/2 inch, you can, but you may want to then go back and with your scissors and reduce some of the bulk that you're going to have here. Because then when you start serging or sewing your sashing, your top sashing, and putting it together, you're going to have a lot of bulk in these point seams right here. So you'll want to be careful with that. Just make sure, I think a 1/4 inch would be just fine. And then adding the sash again on the top sash would be also another 1/4 inch. So you can certainly do this with your sewing machine as well. So go ahead and do that. If you don't have a serger, definitely. This is something that you can do that way as well. So I'm going to go ahead and lift this up here. Put this right back down. Again, holding my ends in place, making sure that they are aligned with my shirt and my sashing. Hold it with my thumb so it's not moving around on me. Double checking my top to make sure that we're good. And then I'll go ahead and serge it. My sides are good. I can see just a tad bit of my sashing, which is fine because it's going to be cut off on the end. So let's go ahead and do that. Other thing is the shirt. Sometimes if it's not a cotton shirt, this is more like a rayon. It's very slippery. So be very careful that it doesn't bunch up here. You know, just make sure it's nice and flat. And if you have to slow down your serger or if you're sewing it, slow yourself down to make sure it's nice and flat as you sew. Then I'll just go ahead and release that, make sure it's flat. Okay, and we just follow that all the way through, and I'm going to go ahead and cut my threads here. Okay, there we go. So now that we have that, again, laying this right back down, and what I'm going to do is grab yet another piece of sashing here to finish up this row. Okay, so for the one row you need 1, 2, 3, and 4 pieces of sashing that I cut. I kind of subcut them. It's 3.5 inches wide is what I'm using for my sashing, and I cut them at 12.5 inches to align with the t-shirts that I cut up. So if you're cutting your t-shirts at 12 inches or 6.5 inches or whatever the size you're cutting your shirts to is where you want to align your sashing to as well. Okay, so go ahead and we're going to line this up, and I'm going to do the last one here. Move this over and out of the way. Make sure I'm lined up on this end. Got my little slither there, and then grabbing the ends, making sure they are aligned, and holding it with my thumb. Okay, just make sure that's, and just kind of use your nails to kind of scratch it into place here. Here we are. It gets a little slippery because this one is a little bit of rayon textile. So you'll want to grab this just a little bit firmer from the cotton, because the cotton will pretty much stay in place, but the rayon is very, very slippery. So you want to kind of look out for that. And then I kind of just check on the sides, you know, making sure that I'm lined up on the sides, and then go ahead and serge. Okay, and then we'll just lay it flat. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and see what we got here. As we just completed our first row. See how quick and easy that was? I mean, you can finish this in just a couple of hours. So let's move our serger over to the side here. Oops, here we go. I'm going to set the camera over to the side as well. There we go. Okay, so let's see what we've got over here. Let me see if I can move this just a tad more. There we go. Okay, I think that's as much as I can move it here. There we go. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, so here we are. We've got our 3 rows going all the way across here. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see all of that. So this is our very first row that we've already serged together. And so now all we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding our second row. We're going to go ahead and serge the second row the same way. Just repeat the same thing all the way across until you get all 4 rows. And then you're just going to go ahead and do the same thing again, but you're going to be adding your sashing all the way across, and you'll be done in no time. It's just that quick and simple to do. Yeah, this is great. Something new in the morning. Yeah, it is. You know, something new, something fun, and you can whip this up in no time. This is one of those projects that you'll get like instant satisfaction because you'll be done in a day. You know, it's just takes a couple of hours to just serge this together and you'll have it in no time. So it really will be very, very quick. Alrighty, we are at the end of our hour. Let's run over and get our inspirational quote of the day. All right, so for today's quote of the day is, upcycling simple t-shirts and scraps holds the power to make something beautiful. And that's exactly what we've done today, is go ahead and don't be afraid to get those scraps, get those t-shirts out and make something really beautiful and memorable for your family or a friend. And I think this is a great project that you guys can whip up in no time. So if you end up doing this, let me know, put it on our Facebook group. I would love to see it. And we will be back here on Monday, and I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Thank you all for watching and all of your support. Just remember, if you're in Michigan, check out Cindy's Guild event. And if you're in Virginia, check out my sister's class as well at the Susie's Quilt Shop. So thank you all for tuning in. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you on Monday, and I hope to be crafting with you soon. Bye, everyone.
So long for now, so long. Glad you stayed a while. Hope you liked my crafting style. Hope I left you with a smile. By now, keep your mind and space clutter-free. Hope your day is bright as can be. So long, my friends, till we craft once again. Bye now, stay crafting. See you tomorrow. So long, my friends, till we craft once again.